after 2 Achilles tears, does anybody really think we're going to access Deshaun Watson's mobility? Like, is that really still a thing? Whereas you look at Shedeur Sanders, his final 5 starts, he was averaging almost 30 rushing yards per game. There is some mobility, some untapped potential there with what he can do with his legs. And I'm not telling anybody that he's going to go out and he's going to be freaking Lamar Jackson. But can he give you 300 yards on the ground?
Jeremy, what should we know about the Browns quarterback competition between Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson?
Laura, this is a true heated battle, and this one's only going to heat up in training camp. As was told to me, Deshaun Watson went into the spring as the clear favorite, and that Shedeur Sanders has bridged the gap at least somewhat. I still believe Deshaun Watson's in a good position. I'm told he was moving like a major athlete again, coming off those Achilles tears. He's moving
like a major athlete, and Shedeur Sanders bridging the gap.
Nobody saw this coming. Not the way it's playing out right now in Cleveland, because just days ago, this wasn't even a conversation. Deshaun Watson was the guy, full stop, no questions asked. But then ESPN's Jeremy Fowler said something live on air, something that changed the entire conversation around the Cleveland Browns. And what happened next split an entire panel of NFL analysts right down the middle. This is the story of how a quarterback competition that wasn't a battle suddenly became one.
I'm seeing a lot of claims right now that even in Deshaun Watson's worst season, he was still better than Shedeur Sanders was last year. And I just got to say, that is statistically not true, and I can prove it. And it's a very even 7-game sample size for both guys. In 2024, the last time Deshaun Watson was healthy and played for the Cleveland Browns, 7 games, a 1-6 record, 1,148 yards, 164 yards per game, 5 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He took 33 sacks, which was 4.7 per game, 148 rushing yards with 1 touchdown, and 6.3 yards per scramble. Oh, and by the way, that was Deshaun Watson's 7th season in the NFL. Last year, Shedeur Sanders, rookie season in 2025, he also played 7 games, had a 3-4 record, 1,400 yards, 175 yards per game, 7 touchdowns to 10 interceptions, took 23 sacks, 3.3 per game, 169 rushing yards with 1 touchdown and 9.3 yards per scramble. So if you're following along with the graphic down here, you see that Shedeur Sanders outperformed Deshaun Watson in every single category except for interceptions. The Browns won more games. He had more passing yards and more rushing yards. He averaged more yards per scramble. So between the two, Shedeur Sanders is the more mobile quarterback. And this was before Deshaun Watson tore his Achilles tendon twice. And Shedeur Sanders took fewer sacks, which was one of the things he was being criticized for all season anyway. So no, Deshaun Watson was not better than Shedeur Sanders the last time he played for the Browns, which is crazy. Think about it, guys. The Browns traded 3 first-round picks, paid $230 million guaranteed for a starting QB1. He is about to be a 9th-year veteran player in the NFL, and yet there's a quarterback competition? How is that guy, the $230 million 3 first-round pick player, not just the QB1 by default? I think that right there tells you everything you need to know.
Obviously, the running game I love.
Harold Fanning played well. Yeah.
But, like, can you play well? What is well?
Deshaun Watson cannot have these games where he's not even throwing for 100 yards, because that's what was going on. He's barely getting 120 yards passing in the National Football League in today's game.
But is it fair, and you played receiver, so it's a great question for you. Is it fair to compare well to a quarterback when the Browns probably clearly have the worst receiver room in the AFC North? Not even the NFL, just the North.
It started with one question. A simple one. What should we know about the Browns' quarterback competition? And Jeremy Fowler didn't dodge it. He called it exactly what it is, a true heated battle, one that's only going to get hotter once training camp opens. Now here's the part that stopped everybody cold. Fowler said Deshaun Watson walked into the spring as the clear favorite. The clear favorite. But Shedeur Sanders has been closing that gap. Not exploding past him, not embarrassing him, closing it. And in the NFL, that's all it takes to start a fire. Let's be fair here, because the panel was. Deshaun Watson is coming off Achilles tears, plural, 2 of them. Fowler himself said it. Watson's been moving like a major athlete again. That's not nothing. That's a man clawing his way back from one of the cruelest injuries in sports. But here's where things get complicated. Because moving like an athlete again and producing like a franchise quarterback again, those are two very different things. One analyst on the panel didn't hold back. He pointed out that last season, Watson wasn't even hitting 100 passing yards in some games, barely 120 yards a game in today's NFL. That's not a quarterback problem, that's a 5-alarm fire. And then he laid out exactly what it would take for the Browns to even consider a change. 61% completion rate, minimum. 200 passing yards a game, minimum. Not the bar for greatness, the bar for just keeping your job.
He's been the main one saying they made a mistake by getting Deshaun Watson.
But I'm still giving him 40+ million this year. I need to see if he can rectify some of these mistakes.
But to Kieran's point, no. Haslam said at the end of last season, Deshaun's a sunk cost. He said we regret paying him, he's a sunk cost. So if Haslam is at all involved, which he's not though, but if Haslam is at all involved, then that does throw a wrench in things. The person I think is the general manager. The general manager is the one that is involved with putting that roster together. I don't think he can't allow Shedeur to start.
Now pay attention to this, because this is the part that should terrify Browns fans. It's not an analyst saying Watson is a problem. It's the owner. Jimmy Haslam himself said it at the end of last season. He called Deshaun Watson a sunk cost. He said the organization regrets paying him. Let that sink in. The man who signed the checks, who guaranteed the contract, who bet the franchise on this deal, he's the one calling it a mistake. Here's where the panel's argument got real interesting. One voice pushed back hard. He asked, is it fair to judge Deshaun Watson when the Browns might have the worst receiver room in the entire AFC North? Not the league, just the division. Bengals have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Ravens have Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews. Colts have DK Metcalf. And the Browns? 2 rookies. Casey Conception, Denzel Boston, plus Jerry Jeudy trying to find his footing again. That's not a murderer's row of weapons. That's a rebuild. So maybe the stat line isn't telling the whole story. This is where the conversation got historic. Literally. The panel searched for any athlete who went 6 years without performing at a high level, and then came all the way back. And they struggled. One name came up, Kurt Warner. 2 MVPs, a Super Bowl, then years in the wilderness. 14 interceptions later, a move to Arizona, and a surprise run all the way back to the Super Bowl. But even that comparison had a catch. Warner had Larry Fitzgerald, Anquan Bolden in his prime. Watson has 2 rookies finding their feet. The panel's own words. This would be the biggest anomaly in the history of the sport.
And so I just don't. Bridging the gap, that's fine. You've made the competition a little closer. All that means is Deshaun Watson will be on a shorter leash if Shedeur continues to bridge the gap and make this closer. They'll feel a little more comfortable when that time comes. So now instead of it being week 5, 6, 7, it may be week 3 or 4. That just means Deshaun Watson has a shorter leash. The more Shedeur continues to kind of bridge that gap and close the competition.
If Deshaun shouldn't be nervous.
So here's what it all comes down to. Nobody on that panel said bench Watson today. Nobody said Shedeur Sanders is walking in week 1. But here's the part that should make every Browns fan sit up. The leash just got shorter. Not week 5, not week 6. Try week 3, maybe week 4. That's the new reality in Cleveland. Because this isn't just about wins and losses. This is about a franchise that already admitted out loud that signing Deshaun Watson might have been the biggest mistake in modern NFL history. This is about a rookie quarterback the entire football world is watching, waiting, wondering if he's the answer to a problem Cleveland created for itself. And this is about an organization that has to decide, do you protect the investment or do you finally cut your losses? Whether you believe in Deshaun Watson or you've already moved on, one thing is impossible to deny. The leash is getting shorter every single week. And in the NFL, a shorter leash has a way of becoming no leash at all. Cleveland didn't just create a quarterback competition, they created a countdown. And every single fan in that city is about to find out exactly how long that clock really is. Subscribe for daily Browns coverage, NFL insider breakdowns, and the stories the mainstream media won't tell you. Drop a comment. Do you think Shedeur Sanders gets the start before mid-season?